the way that we developed things was the clients coming to us and say, hey, we want to have a technology that is exactly what you guys are running. Can you make it work in my neck of the woods? And we said, sure. And that's kind of how things started. And since then, we're running in this symbiotic kind of interaction with clients where basically they like what we're doing and they want like this. We see what they need and we develop for their needs. And we love that.
Ideas, by definition, are always fragile.
No tolerance for failure, no innovation.
The best ideas have to win.
This is the Synthesize Pod from Bright Idea. It's your weekly hit of insights and actionable strategies for innovation-minded professionals that just want to get shit done. Welcome to Season 1, Just Say Hackathon.
So just a little introduction for our audience. BlackRock is a close to $20 billion a year financial player. They've got close to 20,000 people, and likely anyone with any financial assets at all has some interaction with BlackRock, either the systems that the teams that are managing those assets are using, or, you know, if you've ever been part of a index fund, BlackRock's really a pioneer in the index funds. Welcome back, everyone. We are back here with the Synthesize Pod and a new friend here, Kfir Godrich. You want to say hello?
Hello, everybody.
Well, I know we don't have much time with Kfir, so I think we're going to jump right into it. Kfir, I think we'd love to, obviously this is a Synthesize Pod. It's designed for people who are trying to cultivate a mindset of innovation as business leaders and help their teams innovate and kind of adapt to this rapidly evolving world. And this first season, we're focused on Just Say Hackathon, so how hackathons can play a role in the mix of innovation activities. So I thought it'd be great to kind of understand your history, how you kind of got to this role. At some point, we'll give some background on BlackRock too, and then move into, hackathons specifically in the second half. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, no problem.
All right. Well, why don't you give us a little bit of background? We always love to hear some high school or childhood stories that might have hinted to this career path that you're on. Anything like that about how you got to where you are?
Yeah, my background, it's quite complex, you would say. I was born in Eastern Europe, in Romania. I grew up in the Middle East, in Israel, and then came to the US. So therefore, it's quite an interesting path, if you want.
How old were you when you left Romania and then Israel?
15 years old, and I came to the US about 22 years ago with 3 children and a family that was already running a private business in consulting already, with heavy achievements in the field of innovation, if you want. It was the telecom boom, times where we've seen that Europe is not doing so great, and that was our path of work at the time. And we said, let's go to the US and see how it is going to be there. My wife wanted to finalize her PhD, so we came to the US to get, after less than 1 year, the same hit that happened in Europe in the US. It kind of took a little bit of time for the markets to propagate here.
So did you have friends and family when you came to the US, or you guys were kind of just on your own?
We had a little bit of family here, no friends. Yeah, people told us that either we are totally stupid or we are geniuses.
Well, I think
there's a fine line, right, between the two.
Absolutely.
Now, when you say the hit to the market, I didn't fully capture that. So are you saying that the telecom was booming in Europe and it hadn't yet boomed in the US?
No, it was already post. So basically, I was working on designing the infrastructure for the Olympic Games in Athens. All the telecommunication and datacom at the time was very popular. And I designed all this data center across Europe over the, submarine optical networks. And we've seen at some point that the checks for our work, they stopped coming. And this was because companies, they did not do well. And it took some time till, Exodus and other companies, Global Crossing, they kind of faded. So that was kind of the path of, fading of the telecom boom, if you want.
I see. So already you have the technical depth, but you're kind of intersecting that with market savvy and kind of how these tech markets kind of tend to come and go a little bit, and you can kind of play those waves a little bit.
Yeah. So you have the understanding, you read the history, but you don't understand, you're living them. That's kind of, nowadays people will correlate that to mindfulness.
Being in the moment, right?
Being in the present. It's kind of what people will correlate that to. But, it was kind of the same things like when I left Romania, it was the times where the communist times were kind of getting to an edge. You would go into a store and you would ask, do you guys have meat? And they would tell you, no, here we don't have fish. The other store, they don't have meat. Basically, everything, all the stores, everything was empty. There was nothing. The communist times at that point where pretty much you could buy a bread a day with a ticket. And for your family, if you had visitors from another city, good luck with this. You need to have good neighbors. Otherwise, you had the problem. That was kind of the big signs and the big noise of something it's about to happen. And then, of course, things happen. And kind of the same things, they happen with technology. All these waves, people are very much familiar with the S waves of innovations and how we're going from early signs of a good idea to the development of that idea, to the democratization of the idea, socialization of the idea. And then, boom, you hit and it becomes in the center of everything. People pay less attention about the economics running in parallel with these ideas and how these things, they are propagating through markets. For me, I got to pay more attention to that following an advice from Mark Hurd at HP, which was, quite late in my career, where basically he said, you might want to take a look at this book from, Carlota Perez at the time, that, she was kind of correlated, this notion of technoeconomics. And it's good for people to pay attention to that. It kind of helps you with perspectives, being a technologist. And in particular, when you're looking at the cost of things, I was always very close to how much things cost in technology as a sign of or understanding of what is really important, what is hot and what is not. It gave me the ability to get a little bit more, if you want, the macro of the technology, macroeconomics of technology, which was kind of an interesting point of view, in particular because at the time, we were doing about 24 acquisitions a year. And being part of these processes, you wanted to make the optimization of these acquisitions at the point of time, being a company at the time of something like Hewlett-Packard, I don't know, around $130 billion at the time. When do you make these acquisitions? The size of the acquisitions matters. And, history talks, right, from the different good acquisitions to, say, autonomy acquisition. There is a lot of spectrum, and we learned a lot.
There's so much there in what you just said. I feel like there's 5 threads we could follow up on. I mean, obviously, socialism, capitalism is kind of on everyone's lips and minds these days. I don't know if we want to get into the politics of all that.
Absolutely not.
But the technology market thing, we actually invited Carlotta to come to a Synthesize conference years ago, and she was, she couldn't make it, but I spoke on stage about her book. And I think what's fascinating is that not only, does the economic market and the technology market kind of go together, but they're kind of shifted in time, right? And the time to get involved with a hot new technology as an investor may be a year or more before somebody's getting involved, someone's downloading the app like in mass, right? So I think that's always fascinating. And then, to have that vantage point of being in mergers and acquisitions where you're making these like massive bets, probably some of the biggest bets a company makes, to not just buy products, but to buy entire companies, and trying to be on the right side of history there is pretty fascinating. I'll put in one other thing that's just kind of interesting to me is I grew up in a Wall Street family. My dad was one of the first technical analysts on Wall Street. So I thought it was normal for people to look at charts of indexes and and predict the future. And I found out later that that's like, less than 1% of the population does that as part of their day job. But it was always fascinating.
Usually the dinner table talk.
Yeah, exactly. We had little cups with the Dow Jones chart on the side of it. But two things were fascinating to me about that industry. One was that the market as a predictor of where the economy was, that you could kind of look and see that the market was down, and that was signaling that at some point in the future it's kind of a forecast that the economy might follow that, because the smart money was kind of running in one direction.
I totally get it. My family, we never talked about economics or any kind of financial charts. It was all about engineers. In engineering, I'm talking about since we have our 3 children, and only one child is not coding in the family, and she might be the smartest of all of us in the arts and filmmaking industry. But
is she the youngest?
She's the youngest, of course. And good point, Margaret. And we always looked into problem solving as something that fascinated me since my early years, and then kind of same thing for my wife. She took an academic career, but also in computer science and engineering. But I was always fascinated by things that they did not have the dollar signs, and I was fortunate enough to kind of deal with things that they were under the water, in the ground, on the water, in the air, and in the atmosphere, kind of everywhere, and technology.
So you're talking about underwater internet cables and radio signals and stuff like that, right?
Internet cables, data centers, radio signal processing, whatever you want to imagine there, up to satellites and other kind of interesting things, and totally not related to financial systems. In fact, I asked the president, co-president at BlackRock at the time, Charlie Halak, God rest him in peace. Unfortunately, he passed away too young. He was maybe one of the smartest people on Wall Street. And when he interviewed me, I asked him why he needs somebody that is dealing with complex systems like me to work at BlackRock. He looked at me and he said, I want you to solve for me a big problem here. I say, what's that problem? I want you to build for me a $100 server. So last month, I celebrated 10 years here at BlackRock. So 10 years ago, he wanted me to build a $100 server, coming from Hewlett-Packard and, the history of HP Labs. It was kind of natural for him to ask me to do something like that, and having majority of my life in designing monstrosity data centers. It was kind of a good problem that he was thinking. It was going to be very interesting for me to try and bring me over, following my year of non-compete after HP. Yep. And I say, Charlie, let's go and divert that problem into a different direction. And he said, why? I say, because this year there is this company that came up by the name of Docker. And they are, doing these things called containers. And basically they are taking monolithic software, cutting it in pieces, putting it on containers, loading them off a train with orchestration. And suddenly, you can have, software in total different way, running technology in total different way, being able to push changes in total different way, being able to solve software problems in total different way. With this kind of directions, the servers, they are going to be a little bit less interesting for a company like BlackRock and other financials. Is going to kind of abstract the level of the hardware from everything that you want to do. And then, there is this smell of cloud that you can have here and there. And, that's kind of what's going to happen. He was fascinated looking at me and said, anyway, I wanted you to come to work for me. So, just come over.
For anyone that's listening that may not be familiar with Dockers and containerization, the insight there was that, we don't need to just keep adding a new server every time we have a new computing task we need done. We can kind of run like mini shoeboxes inside a single computer, and then each of those shoeboxes can run discrete tasks. So they call those containers, and Docker is one of the players that built that. So instead of needing tons and tons of $100 servers, you can just have one really big server with lots of little containers that run those discrete processes.
So that's kind of BlackRock was not the place that I was looking to go next, but I was fascinated by the part that was more stealth at the time, everything that led to the development of our Aladdin software, and how basically I was at the session with the head of innovations of Amazon, and he mentioned there that 80% of their innovation is coming from their clients. Here at BlackRock, I can tell you that even the name of Aladdin derivates from clients' interaction. The way that we developed things was by the clients coming to us and say, hey, we want to have, a technology that is exactly what you guys are running. Can you make it work in my neck of the woods? And we said, sure. And that's kind of how things started. And since then, we're running in this symbiotic kind of interaction with clients where basically they like what we're doing and they want like this. We see what they need and we develop for their needs. And we love that. Even the latest acquisitions that we did and additions on the platforms to Aladdin, it was kind of with the same concept of client. It's everything, I think Larry is always using, be a student of the client, be a student of the markets. And we added after the years, be a student of technology here. This is very, very important for us because innovation, and people, they are talking about it and giving it 10,000 definitions, and you can go and try and find your favorite, definition for it. It happens at edges, when you find d something over dt or d, kind of a derivative of something. Clients, they are creating these derivatives all the time. Markets, you mentioned your family looking at the charts. Certainly, you were looking at these changes. You were looking, and wherever these changes happen, something innovative is happening for either keeping the curve there going down or changing directions and making it go up. And that requires a certain level of intervention, aka innovation, right? So That's kind of something that we've been always fascinated here.
When you were younger, there was a focus on engineering and not economics. Is there anything more there if we turn that rock over? What was that? It was just your parents, steered you that way, or that was seen as more valuable, or that was just the way things were?
No, I grew up in Israel. At the time, it was a very strong focus on technology. I served in the military and studied in parallel, electrical and computer engineering. Mm-hmm. And I was literally lucky enough to kind of being asked very, very young to design very large systems, mm-hmm. where at the time, from my point of view, it was almost like, no financial walled gardens, if you want. Go and build the best system for doing that. When you have that kind of things, or sometimes the other type of things where you face a problem and say, we need to solve that problem, go all over the world, learn whatever it's available out there, and make sure you solve that problem. This is giving you a total different perspective. And it always, of course, it has an envelope of dollars, and we always work with budgets. I think I'm kind of proud to say that I always been, on budget in everything that I manage, throughout all my career. I understand and I have huge amount of respect for the economic boundaries, and finding the right technological solution into the boundaries of economics. It's challenging. But you will find out sometimes that even without economical boundaries, technology is tough enough to deal with things. So, I started being in what is called C4ISR type of environment, which are typically the most expensive type of environments to design in the military environments. The challenges that there are just to solve the problem mostly, and then the economical burden, it's a secondary one. Then, over the years, when you're going from doing C4ISR to designing the next data center for a financial institution or for a hyperscaler, different type of problems, different type of optimization. Each one of these problems has a different optimization path. In one, it's we want to get there in a certain modular way with the cheapest type of hardware possible to achieve a certain capability of compute that is going to be on demand with capabilities of scaling that they are synchronized to this time unit. Mm-hmm. On the other is we want to run the most reliable type of environment that it's possible to build in the world with the highest availability for our systems. Have a nice, good luck with that. And the numbers change over the years, even we're talking about supercomputers that I've been lucky to design a couple of tens of them to a data center for a hyperscaler. When you're thinking about these things, popular numbers at the time was the supercomputer, number was, you have $20 million, you can build a supercomputer for university. And then it came times where $100 million, it became kind of a challenge. For data centers, times where, you were building data centers for a couple of $100 million, and then you got to $1 billion. And nowadays, this AI directions that we're dealing with nowadays, $1 billion will not bring you too much. So the orders of magnitude correlated with technology are changing because of our needs and the correlated systems that they require to enable this type of environments. They are also changing. They are creating problems that they are multidisciplinary, that I found them and their complexity absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, I've heard about the new AI data centers where you like the power is the constraint. And as you're training, the demand for the AI compute can fluctuate wildly. So it's not just that you need this much power. It's
training and inference. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like it might crank up to 3x to down to 1x, and you need to somehow support all that, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, and regulating power at this kind of fluctuations, absolutely, it's not an easy task, as you might know. In particular, when these kind of things are kind of singletons.
Yeah, I saw some pictures of the XAI, Elon Musk company, and they just have trailers of generators outside of their new AI thing in Tennessee.
Well, that means that they don't take a lot of power, because the existing generators are not a lot of power versus what it is required next.
Yeah, I don't know if they were trying to isolate risk from the grid, or I don't know exactly what they were doing, but they had a bunch of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So a couple more stops on the journey. So we're in Romania, we're in Israel. So you came to the US, your wife was doing the PhD. Did you go straight to HP at that point, or were there a couple other stops in there?
No, I started doing my PhD myself, and in parallel with that, I started working for a company called EYP-MCF.
Sorry, what was the PhD topic?
Nonlinear controls. It's kind of in complexity. Yeah, it's kind of direction that I was always fascinated by. But in particular, because not too many people, they were sticking their nose in this.
I don't know what that is. So is that what are you controlling, and what's nonlinear?
It's a long story there, but a lot of real things are nonlinear, unfortunately. So it's basically controlling the real world. But I started doing that, and joining EYP-MCF was a huge privilege. Somebody I knew a couple of years beforehand was the CEO there, which was one of my mentors, Peter Gross, maybe one of the top mission critical engineer in the world, in my humble opinion. And Peter took me to be his CTO there at EYP-MCF, and we were basically designing 75% of the tier 4 data centers in the world. So basically, our clients, they were top 5 into every industry that you can think about it. So telecommunication industry, financial industry, hyperscaler starting to get built at the time. Beside Google, everybody was our client. It was basically an unbelievable environment to be an innovator. This is where ideas like, modular data centers, like the one that you've seen, the generator next to the thing, it's because it's modularized and scalable in certain way. All kind of how to build a real big thing, and we did that, it was every day I used to come to work, and I needed to generate a new idea for a new client that was very demanding, and they wanted all kinds of things. And we got the attention at the time of HP, IBM, and Dell. And the three of them, they decided to buy us. And HP was the successful one into this journey. But we've been at the time at the center of pretty much designing the technology strategy for each one of these companies, including development of software that was quite unique and very early in areas like green data centers and everything related to how to do things green, how to understand the footprint of this kind of this area that was, even at the time, it was something like 2% of the power of the world was powering this kind of type of environments, that they were data center environments.
And this was like 2000s in terms of timing?
Timing was around the HP acquisition was around 2007.
Okay. And
then joining, Hewlett Packard took this kind of need and capabilities to the world. So suddenly, I spent time in China, in India, in all around the world, trying to build and to introduce this kind of notions of engineering that was large scale, and how to deploy this kind of technologies in order to make compute storage network, giving you the next generation of technology if you want. And that was the challenge. So I was a CTO in EYP. I moved to become a CTO in HP. I got the opportunity to work with HP Labs, which was a great opportunity at the time. Mm-hmm. And in particular, through the transformation of HP Labs.
All right. So you get to BlackRock, $100 server. You actually see the writing on the wall that it's more about containerization and Docker. And you mentioned briefly that the name of Aladdin had something to do with the intersection of your customers and them wanting what you had. Or talk to us about the name of Aladdin. I was curious how Aladdin got its name.
Aladdin indeed came from the need of clients to work the way that we are running, and to deal in particular in the first days with risk. People wanted to de-risk or to understand the risk that they have over their platforms. Basically, one of the first products that they used was our risk for any kind of securities that you might have into your portfolio. And that was called the green package. And it was called the green package because originally when our 8 founders were sitting in one room, they could not find the amount of paperwork there that they were related to their risk calculation. So basically they started using the green paper. And that's kind of how this was kind of find out a little bit faster.
So that's how they could find it in a stack of paper, because they would look for the green.
Yeah. About, after about 4 or 5 years at BlackRock, I was lucky enough to be asked to manage the data for the firm and to actually be in charge of this green package. So one day I'm traveling with our president, Rob Capito, and he's asking me, hey, right now that you're running this thing, first of all, good luck to you. but do you know why this is called green package? So I told him, yeah, I heard this story, about the way, you guys could not find the risk papers and risk reports and say, no, that's not exactly true. And I say, what do you mean? This is what's going on. It's a cultural story. Say, only I know why this is green package, because I used to buy the paper, and I bought green paper because it was the cheapest paper I could buy at the time. So, there is a lot of stories and there is a lot of reality. So that's kind of how it works. But clients wanted to do this kind of thing. So we want to provide the clients, in particular, if you think about the chief investment officer in a firm, the ecosystem of a day in his life. So if you think about it, they are getting their risk reports in the morning. They might take the data, they might mix it with some private data that they might have into our own environment, that we're providing them with all kind of tools like our studio platform on Aladdin, or some separate tools that they might want to use. If you're hyperscaler and you happen to have a platform of big data, you might want to do a little bit of these things on the side. And then this magic that you're generating, you're bringing it back on the platform, you're dropping it, and you're making your decisions about your trading strategy in our Aladdin infrastructure will bring you back at the end of the day with everything, all your picture there for everything that you wanted to get to. And that's kind of again and again. And then you have the capabilities to play with all these things and all the related things around that ecosystem. So if you think about research, if you think about reporting, if you think about anything that you might need in order to run an environment of, say, our clients, they are typically a majority of them, they are institutional clients, so people that they might have, say, over $20 billion in assets or something like that. This is kind of the way that they manage their money. That's how we're helping them out. And nowadays, it's getting even more interesting, but because people, they want to do even more in BlackRock way. So it's going even beyond the Aladdin platform. It's going into the modus operandi and all kinds of other things. And you can read in the media all kinds of projects and programs that we're running in this particular way.
So again, a couple quick catch-up notes. So obviously, BlackRock is a massive financial player. Aladdin is in colloquial terms the intranet tool that allows that. It's basically this massive technology platform that you guys have at the center of the business that allows all those transactions to happen.
It's the technology for a financial institution to run everything they need into their environments de facto. That's how we're running ourselves. That's how they run themselves, to make it the easiest way to understand it.
And my understanding is that entity is head and shoulders above anything else that really exists out there. It's just like, kind of light years ahead of what, anyone else would have, same way you might think Google has.
We hope so.
Well, like the way you think Google has great AI, it's kind of like, or someone else, is, it's head and shoulders above. So, and then obviously you mentioned that your customers were coming to you, other institutions were coming to you and saying, we want that technology. We want those processes. We want that green folder for ourselves so that we can find our risk. Green package, yeah. Okay, I think I'm fully caught up now. So let's talk about innovation at BlackRock, because even though BlackRock is world famous as a financial player, it's really a technology company to a large extent under the hood. Would you say that's accurate? I
think every company today is a technology company. We say that many years ago about BlackRock. I think innovation was from day one existing here. I was managing innovation at Hewlett Packard, and when I came to BlackRock, I was asking, do you guys have any kind of chapter of innovation? And I was asked, what are you talking about? We are just doing innovation. We don't have time to create chapters. And that was one of the things that attracted me at BlackRock. It's kind of an OBS kind of a company. We don't do things for them to look good or to make, any kind of big,
innovation theater, showy type stuff.
We're not there for any kind of a show. We just do things that we need, that we believe that they are the right things. So this is why when I was asked about a year ago to take this kind of a position, it was kind of a very interesting direction for me to be able to kind of put this chapter in the center of the firm, and for the firm to focus in that particular thing, it had to have certain levels of or certain ingredients, if you want. And management here was kind enough to me to allow me to kind of pick and choose some of the ingredients. So I created here an AI labs about 6 years ago. So they say, well, you will continue running, everything, we need to do with AI. And because what happened in the last year, certainly right now, we democratize that. And together with the Aladdin engineering and Aladdin management, we're doing that for everything in the firm and for clients. So it's not a division of, it's kind of everywhere, and that's the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. I was running data, so they say, "Oh, we want you to continue, running the Aladdin data," and so I'm co-managing the Aladdin data together with the head of Aladdin. I was running information security, So I was asked to continue overseeing the CISO and the information security operations for the firm. Then, we concentrated all the technology inside the Aladdin world, which was the right thing to do for focus and for, again, as I mentioned, we like to have the things to be the right things. And then, one of the things that I figure out, we do not invest too much into early stages. That's not what we're doing. We typically invest in the companies way later in their stages of development and way heavier amounts of dollars. So I wanted to create a chapter of InnoVentures. And this particular chapter of InnoVentures was in order to infuse innovation into different parts of the firm through capabilities that we might have less inside, or areas that they are running way faster than we can run. Well, think about it. With AI nowadays, the speed of AI, nobody can catch it as an institution, being a financial institution or any other company otherwise. You need to pay attention. You need to be open to bring and infuse yourself with capabilities that they are changing in a pace that it's never seen before. We spoke a little bit earlier about all these S-curves and, the timelines for these S-curves, they are basically shrinking as we speak all the time. Additional points of, development, they are getting added to them as we speak. And I think in a couple of years, we are going to learn from new books these chapters of innovation, because what we are living right now, I feel that we're living in the fastest pace ever from the point of view of technology development. And what AI, and in particular generative AI, is doing for organizations, it's significant in its core for the future of the companies. And I heard all kinds of people talking about it. Some people, they are talking in terms that in 5 years there are going to be two types of companies: the ones that they fully are into AI, or the ones that they are out of business. So I don't know how true this statement is, but definitely I can understand the need to make this kind of statement, in particular for people that they are analyzing markets, that they are overseeing the speed, they are looking into prediction of capabilities. So that's definitely something that we could see. And therefore, the need to have a different way to look at innovation, it's very, very different than in the past.
We kind of glossed over. So you're officially the Chief Innovation Officer of BlackRock. So how did that come to be? You said that innovation was diffused throughout the organization. They were kind of willing to set this up as a department. You were doing about 50 other things that were mission critical to the business, but they still kind of gave you this extra responsibility and extra team. What did that look like? What were the motivations? You sound like you had some hesitation about, that being its own entity instead of just innovation being diffused throughout. But was it specifically through the ventures route, the corporate venturing that got you into that position?
No, I think, it was a very important point in time for the firm to figure out that this should be a specific thing to pay attention for it. There are areas that even you're a 36 years company or 36 year startup as BlackRock, if you want, we do so much, innovating every day here. But then take a look into an analyst sitting on a floor, and they want to ask a question. They are as good as their network is. And if they are new to the firm, and nowadays a significant amount of people joining us, they are new to the firm, how they are going to do it. So to have a platform of innovation was one of the first things that we wanted to do. So here is motivation, how only by, focusing a little bit on innovation, you would understand that it is a need for that. So we looked into different platforms and we came to this platform called Bright Idea. And we basically said, I'm going to basically democratize ideation and to bring it as up as possible. Because beforehand, we used to have hackathons, and hackathon, it's a great tool, but it's once a year. And therefore, when you run hackathons once a year, or you're running all kinds of sprints, that they are a little bit less, inorganic, if you want. But suddenly you can bring an idea very, very fast, and people can look into it and have an opinion about, this particular idea. You can connect ideas together. Since this is a platform that we're paying attention to it, if you want to develop IP, then it is one of the fastest way to get attention to say, hey, we see these things on the platform. Would you guys consider it, patented? Oh, sure. Okay, we'll sponsor that. So suddenly you create not only an ecosystem that you're democratizing fast ideation, but you are also adding additional layers to that. They were inexistent before. So again, this particular idea to reality, if you want, this kind of speed is something that I'm very happy that we were able to add to our existing capabilities in the firm. Hackathon, this whole idea, we have Aladdin for institutions, as I mentioned to you. But through the hackathon, a bunch of guys, they came a couple of years ago and they say, why don't we do that for wealth? And suddenly they developed this Aladdin for wealth. And now it's a significant part of our business where basically we are offering an Aladdin for wealth engine to a lot of institutions that they need that. And it's something that came out through a hackathon. And it's a beautiful thing to talk about it. But right now, there are, this particular year, we had 250 ideas that came up through the hackathon on the Ideation platform that we put together. The only complaint that I have about it is that I was able to know who is the winning idea before the typical thing that we will do the polling and we'll announce it in our Global Leadership Summit. I was able to know who is the winner before the drums started to go. And the reason for it, people's sentiment on a platform, it's very realistic. So in the moment that you have a platform and you see people's sentiment that they are departed something 40% from the rest of the ideas, oh, that's the winner. That's exactly what happened. So how cool is this? So yeah, it's a different way to deal with ideation, and it's adding. It's fantastic, and we are very happy for adding this kind of capability.
What do you see? You're obviously been ahead of many curves in the past. What do you see as the future of all this? Where just like you guys ask your customers where Aladdin can go next. What do you see as where the future of these platforms to kind of support this ongoing innovation activities? Where can that all go?
I think that the innovation path is changing. Certainly, in the moment that you have this kind of capabilities of generative AI and everything is becoming prompt-based, you are able to create, an interaction with knowledge that it's way more significant and faster than ever before. You can have a discussion with an LLM. You can have a discussion with an LLM that it's more focused towards what you're looking at. And therefore, I think that platforms, they are going and they must have way more capabilities of prompt interaction. And the platforms over time, they might go into the very next future. If my humble opinion is they might offer prompt paths in order to get faster to a certain type of ideation. So basically, prompting is not natural to people. Nowadays, I think maybe a year ago, the hottest topic was we're looking for prompt engineers.
Yep.
Now, when prompting became a little bit more wider understood, the next thing it will be, in the correlation of ideation, it will be how do I get from an idea, or how do I check my ideas? Think about even if you're looking on something that it's related to IP, you have access to check IP way faster and way more specific than before, that you needed to go into a document library and try to find what exact patents are relevant for. This whole world is changing, and it's, if you think about the legal world, that it's very much changing nowadays because of AI. It's kind of everything, it's correlated.
Okay, well, we promised we'd get you out of here on time because you're a busy exec and you have all those responsibilities you were talking about. I feel like we could go on for another 2 hours if we had the time.
Hearing that did make me feel better that happens in every company on every promotion, that you keep everything that you were doing before and get a new project. So
it's, I think it was at HP, the thing that I learned there when I joined, they told me, here, you're never going to die from starvation. You might die from indigestion. There is always so much to do. And, people, they are trying to attack everything, and at once. In particular, nowadays, it is very important to have a structured thinking. You were asking what is next for ideation. If you're going to go wild with your prompts and you're not going to be structured in your thinking, you're not going to get where you need to get. So that's another place where such kind of platforms, creating structured thinking or structured steps, if you want, to get to something, that's where the value will be, because otherwise you can get very easily, scattered around.
All righty. Well, Kfir, again, to keep us on schedule, I'm going to let you go, but hopefully we'll have you back or something, or come see you in New York and we'll have a coffee together. But I want to thank you for taking this time, sharing some of your journey, sharing some of the deep thinking and the technology behind BlackRock. And yeah, thanks for joining the podcast today.
Thank you so much. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that was more than I was expecting. What did you think, Margaret?
I just sat and felt like I was at school. Like I was like, I'm just going to sit here and learn these lessons. I did write down a few things, though. I think that there was an interesting arc in his background from being in Israel and being tapped to build governmental, big data centers and things with kind of, budget was secondary, all the way to the story of the $100 server. And then I thought it was really interesting for him to switch to this idea of like, we're asking the wrong question, right? Like this is the wrong project. I understand that the goal is to make software and engineering even cheaper and make sure that, if we can reduce the cost of servers, but there's another path to do that other than just make a server cheaper, right? And so I think that was an interesting kind of innovation core ethos, which is, are we even asking the right question here? And then a couple other things that I picked up on. It feels like throughout our conversations, these organizations really have innovation embedded in their DNA. Oftentimes these programs will spring over, sounds like BlackRock, it sprung out of something that was just core to the identity of the organization that then they wanted to harness and focus a little bit more. But it does feel like we're talking to a lot of innovation first companies and not necessarily people that or companies that realized that they needed to install innovation into their company. It was just like, how do we make sure that this thing that naturally exists is tended to? I'm going to look up what nonlinear controls is because I want to know what he got his PhD in. And the last thing I'll say that I was literally in school taking notes. I think that when he was talking about democratization of ideas and that they can come from everywhere and the fact that they use Bright Idea and hackathons for that internally, I also thought there was an interesting thread of the venture arm and it being that good ideas can come outside of the company as well. Like innovation can come outside of the company, and why don't we go early stage and invest in it? So it's kind of this extension of that idea of innovation can come from anywhere that then also was that ventures program. And those are my notes.
All right. Yeah, I was pretty fascinated with the whole arc of, Romania to Israel, HP Labs. We worked with HP Labs. And then BlackRock is obviously, I love this idea of the no BS culture because I think in innovation, sometimes people do get caught up in the theater of it all. And they think, oh, we're going to, do this big kickoff event, or we're going to do this big, set up this team, and, recognizing that innovation was alive and well within the organization, but they could add even more emphasis and even more intention around it. I think makes sense. And I think he just kind of embodies that no BS approach, right? He has the skills, he has the experience, he's done these things at scale, and he's capable of taking it to the next scale as that comes along. It's not some disjointed, disconnected thing. It's all kind of part of the core engine and moving forward. So I thought that was really, really cool. I feel like it's going to take me a day or two to process everything that we covered. Yeah, I just think it's fascinating that how much technology. He said every company is a technology company, and how much when you talk with him, you feel like you're there in the data center and the fans are burring in the background. So it's nice to know there are people like that who've had that trajectory that are kind of keeping all that stuff moving and moving forward and evolving. Because I can't imagine that the challenge to you have this massive install base, massive infrastructure, and then something like AI comes along and you have to think about what needs to be reevaluated, what needs to be retooled, refactored. It just seems like an incredible challenge.
And especially in these sensitive sectors like, the financial world or healthcare or whatever it is. And I was even thinking about how with both, BlackRock and them having Aladdin with, and a customer base of folks that are using that, I'm thinking of, the data privacy
sure.
of that is just feels like I might stay up at night and it's not even my problem. And I would just think about the data privacy, the complications of that world. So I'm glad it's not my day job, but I was really loving to sit and have a peek into his brain and his life and how he views these things. It was absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, it's been really cool to do this whole series because even though we're talking about Hackathon every time, 1 minute we're talking about molecules in a petri dish, and the next minute we're talking about 100x scale
global financial systems, and we're talking about whatever nonlinear controls are. But I will get to the bottom of that. So,
yep. All right. Well, another good one in the books, Margaret, and I guess we'll talk to you next week.
Yeah. See you next week.
Have a great one. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Synthesize Pod. For more resources on how to bring innovation to the forefront of your organization, sign up for our newsletter at brightidea.com. That's BRIGHTIDEA.com. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode.